If you hire a travel agency like us, or if you look for deals in advance with a travel agency, you can find business class tickets very inexpensive. And the key here is that find the cities. So for example, if you want to go to Barcelona, fly into Madrid is so much cheaper. You're going to save thousands of dollars and then just take the train over to Barcelona or take a national flight from Madrid to Barcelona, much cheaper. All right, welcome my beautiful people. In this video, I want to talk about what you should know before traveling to Madrid in Spain. The first thing you need to understand is that if you're used to traveling to Europe as an American without having to do anything special, that's going to be part of the past. They're still working on it. It's been postponed some more, but there's a system, and I'm going to read it to you because I always forget the name of the system. It is the European Travel Information Authorization System, which was supposed to take effect now in 2024. Now they're saying that it's not going to be officially implemented until 2025, but basically you're going to have to go in there and just like pay a fee and apply for entry into the European Union. The fee is going to be minimum. They're saying somewhere between 7 and 10 euros, and it's not going to be difficult. It's just one extra step that you have to take if you're planning on going to the European Union. Not a big deal, but you should be aware of that and stay on top of that because this can change at any moment. Like I said, it was expected to happen now in the spring of 2024, and now we're talking about the summer of 2025. So let's continue. I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna give you probably like 12 different things you need to be aware of in Spain. Now, me personally, especially if you follow this channel, you know that I love that country, especially Madrid, one of my favorite cities. There's a lot to do, but let me begin with the most common thing that all of you should know by now. You know, Spanish is the official language, but there you can get by with very little, if no Spanish at all. There's a lot of people that don't speak English, and it's a very touristy place, especially if you go there in the peak season, which is the summer, July, August specifically. I'm going to highly recommend that you don't go in July and August because all the prices go up. It is super crowded because that's their peak season. Most Europeans go on holidays in either July or August. I would recommend you don't go those days, but if you're a family that got your kids in school and you have to go, understand that if you go during that time, you're not going to have issues with the language. Next is currency. The currency there is going to be the euro, but a lot of places there now are not even accepting any kind of cash, but you should still go in and exchange. I highly recommend that even before you go to your bank and order some euros so that you can have them before you even leave the US. Next is the weather. One of the reasons why I love Madrid is because the weather is perfect, especially for me from May, June are the best months to travel there, and then in the fall it's probably September, October, because everything settles down, the weather's perfect, it's not super crowded, but the weather is really nice. But understand, if you go into, I'm going to compare it to cities like New York, because in the wintertime it's freezing and in the summertime it's hot. Next is transportation. If you go to Madrid, you're going to fly into the airport. The airport's far from the actual city, so you're going to have to take a taxi there. I don't recommend that you rent a car because you're really not going to need it. Get to the city either by train, which is an experience in and of itself. I highly recommend that you do it at least once, but you can take a taxi. Then once you get to the city, you don't need a car. I mean, I usually get around on a motorized scooter or electric scooter, but you have bikes, trains, there's plenty of taxis. Taxis can get kind of expensive there. But like I said, train system is really easy to use, clean. It's really not. It's not like traveling in New York City subway. Next is safety. People always ask me how safe is Europe. Don't have to. If you're from a major city in the US, it's an upgrade. So you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. You always need to be aware of the following: is the petty theft stuff, the pickpockets. Be very cautious when you're in crowds. And I don't want to profile, but there are some gypsy organized crime groups there. Specialty is pickpocketing people, and also some scams that you see in the streets. So avoid these street vendors. Don't engage with people coming up to you, and you'll be fine. Next is the culture and the customs of Spain. Madrid, sadly, is losing a lot of its culture, but if you go anywhere else, expect, for example, if you go south of Spain, Sevilla, Cordoba, those areas, they still follow the siesta tradition. So if you expect everything to be open 24/7 during the day, you're in for a culture shock. correct because they're not open. Siestas are usually between 2 and 5 p.m. And for example, there's been a lot of small towns I went to. It's literally a ghost town between 2 and 5 p.m. So understand that. In terms of entry, as I mentioned before, you can travel anywhere in European. Once you get to the European Union, you don't need to have your passport anymore. You can travel with just an ID. There's no checkpoints. There's no immigration checkpoints once you get in there. As a side note, here's a big tip. If you're like me, that if anytime I have to fly more than 6 hours, I need to fly in business class just because not being in business, I have ADD. If you follow my channel, I'm all over the place. Can't sit still in a small economy seat to go all the way to Europe. But here's the beauty about it. If you hire a travel agency like us, or if you look for deals in advance with a travel agency, you can find business class tickets very inexpensive. And the key here is that find the cities, not necessarily the city you want to go to. So for example, if you want to go to Barcelona, flying to Madrid is so much cheaper. You're going to save thousands of dollars and then just take the train over to Barcelona or take a national flight from Madrid to Barcelona. Much cheaper. Again, I oftentimes get a business class ticket for under $1,500. On average, I usually pay about $1,800 for a business class ticket, but it's well worth it, people. Well worth it. There's two other things I want to touch on. One is dining when you go out to eat. If you're an American, please understand that you're going to a completely different culture. It is a very laid-back culture. Expect to be eating dinner super late. Everybody there eats late, and expect to be there for a long time. Unlike in the U.S. where everything happens quickly, over there, it doesn't happen quickly. I mean, the service, in my opinion, it's really good, but it's slow. But it's slow for a reason. For example, even don't expect them to bring you the check. You have to ask for the check. That's way different than what you experience here in the U.S. So understand that, and don't think that they're being rude. They're not. It's just their culture. They want you to enjoy dinner. Dinner is really a social time. It's a time for them to hang out with family and friends. Drink some wine, drink some sangria, eat some great food. But it's an experience. It takes a while for dining. Plus, understand that tapas is their thing, right? Their portions are much smaller than what you're used to in the U.S. Don't think you're getting ripped off because you're not. But that is something that's different. One of the things that I really noticed the first time I went to Europe was that dining experience is way different than that dining experience in the U.S. Let me talk a couple of things about the attractions in Madrid. Madrid has a lot of cultural history and really a lot of things to do. I always recommend people, if they're going to take the time to fly the Atlantic to go to Europe, especially if it's your first time, don't go there for a weekend. Don't go there for 3 or 4 days. You're not going to see not even 1/3 of what's available there. Plan on a longer trip, but here's some popular things in Madrid. You're looking at the Royal Palace, El Parque El Retiro, Plaza Mayor, Puerta del Sol. Those are the most popular areas, but understand they're popular, so they're going to be super, super crowded. If you're not into crowds, don't go there. There's also a cool rooftop called on the Rio Hotel, RIU Hotel, which is on the main strip there. If you're not a guest at that hotel, you have to make reservations to go up to this rooftop. But I posted a lot of videos on this rooftop. It is a sight to see. Great drinks there, especially if you're into cocktails. You're gonna have a great time there. I highly recommend that place. And then the last thing I'm gonna talk about, going back to dining that I didn't mention before, understand that tipping is really not it's not the same as it is in the US, where in the US, we are expected to tip 20% in the US. In Europe, not so much. I still tip probably about 15% is the average when I tip. Although they're used to a 5 to 10% tip if the service is good, but it's not something that as demanding as it is in the US. Anyways, my beautiful people, if this information was useful, do me a big favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe to my Instagram. If you're in my Instagram, you're gonna get a lot of specials. For example, we're throwing a Virgin Atlantic is going to have a special cruise leaving. There's two sailings leaving April and May. It's a 11-day cruise, but the discounts that we're getting it is ridiculous. But you have to be a subscriber to get that information. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.